Typically, if you get a pack of tubes, I would suggest to you that you take a few of them, clean up the skirting on them, and rig a few. Because when you're out fishing, you don't want to spend a lot of time doing that. I sell more of this size lead than I do anything else. Not necessarily because it's the best. It's just because pretty generally it's a good size. So I'm going to go into the rigging of this for a minute. Now, some people will just spit on the thing, and some people will put a little WD-40 or a little smelly jelly or something that one of those lousy competitors of mine has, and you just kind of work that piece of lead in all the way up to the front. And there's kind of a right way and a wrong way to do this, because you don't want to have a big profile on that hook. If you should happen to do it this way and you get the hook up this far, the fish of course is going to feel it a little more. So what I do is I take that piece of lead and I cock it back like this, and it creates a much smaller profile. Then just take your fingernail and scratch it through there. And you could take a little more fish scent or something if you'd like, and just rub it on the lure. Now let me say this: the best fish scent that you can get is fish. So if your buddy is catching a fish and you're not, and you don't have any fish scent, say, "Hey buddy, come here a minute, I want to see that fish." And take your lure and rub it all over that fish and rub it in his mouth. And that's what we call breaking in the lure. And some people, when they go fishing, they think, "Oh, you know, it's a new day, I need a new lure. Put on a real nice one." Put on the one you used last time that's already caught some fish. Even if there's a few skirts torn off of it, it does have that fish scent on it, and you'll do much better. And if you can remember to break your lures in a little bit, you'll be much more productive. Now, this standard Gitzit lure that I've made, it's a little different than a ball head. You'll notice it's flat. Now, when it's flat like this, it falls differently in the water. You're going to have, I don't know what percentage of your bites, but it's going to be a high percentage when your lure is falling. If your lure falls like a rock, or it helicopters down or something, it's not going to do so good. But when it's flat like this, it'll curve this way and it'll curve this way, and it'll have a natural action. So, not to sell my own lead, but I prefer fishing with this. It's flat. It has the action you need for a drop. Now, I have these in several different weights, and of course they're for different conditions. If you're in the springtime and the fish are bedding, or they're ready to bed, and they're shallow, because the fall is so important, you want to use as light a weight as you can. If you get a little further into the season and the fish start moving out into deeper water, you want to maybe switch to a heavier weight, especially if the wind is blowing or your boat is drifting or something. And I prefer at that time to use a 1/4 ounce. I've fished in some places for trout, and they'll be down 40, 50 feet. Then I move to a 3/8 ounce lead. People that are fishing for lake trout, they'll go with a bigger tube like one of these. That's a 7-inch one. That one we use a 1 ounce piece of lead. And when we do that, we rig it almost in the same way. We'll push the piece of lead up inside, about as far as we can get it. Scratch the eye out, like so. And then we'll take the hook and we'll make sure that the hook gets buried a little bit, because certain fish with their lateral lines are very sensitive if there's metal there. So you want to keep as little metal there as possible for certain species of fish. Bass, there's really no problem. They're kind of used to that stuff. Always, though, rubbing the lure on the fish is a good idea.